Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN Weekly for Saturday, July 8th, 2023. And our top story today, great jobs data, but is a consumer spending slowdown about to happen? And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Jane King is a financial journalist joining us from the NASDAQ. Jane, so great to see you again. Welcome back to the program.
Great to be back, Jeffrey. Hope you're having a great summer.
You know, I think I'm doing okay. I worked a lot, but I'm doing okay.
Me too.
Jane, new jobs report just dropped and exceeded expectations. Want to get your thoughts on that?
So, well, it was interesting because it's been kind of a jobs week. So yesterday we got the ADP private payroll number, and that one way exceeded expectations. And so we got the number from the Labor Department today. We were like, oh, is this ADP number right or what? Not even close to what the government number was today. The government number fell a little bit short of expectations. So the headline number, 209,000 jobs created last month. The unemployment rate fell to 3.6%. Now here's something interesting. The biggest entity that added the most jobs last month was government, 60,000. We also saw leisure and hospitality add jobs, and we saw professional and business services, retail cut jobs. So it's kind of interesting to see where these jobs come from. Worker participation rate, that's another thing we look at, was hovering right around 63%. It's been there for several months now. So it kind of tells us the job market still is somewhat tight, but maybe not as tight as we had thought earlier this week. And we did see interest rates drop as soon as the number came out.
Well, I was going to ask you, man, how do you reconcile ADP comes out with a private payroll number? Now, keep in mind, Jane, I mean, they are one of the top payroll providers, so I guess they would have good information. But I can't underestimate the Labor Department. I would think that they would have good info as well. So how do you balance that if you're the market? If you get that number today or Friday and then Thursday you get another number, how do you reconcile that?
I know. Well, I think Wall Street trusts the government number more. I think they see it as more comprehensive, although they don't think the ADP report is, worthless either. Now, this is private payrolls. And where we did see the most job growth was government last month, but ADP said almost 500,000 jobs created. And the government says just over 200,000. So it's a huge difference. And, I don't know exactly how they're going to iron all this out. And there's a lot of things kind of on Wall Street's plate right now. We've got the interest rates, we have geopolitics and everything. So I think, by the end of the day, we'll kind of determine what this means.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone, at the end of the day, just metaphorically, I don't think anyone knows the direction things are going to happen. You're just going to have to ride the wave and see what happens, what the market does. Jane, I want to ask you about consumer spending because this one has really been propping up the economy. Consumers have been spending, but from all accounts, high credit card balances, people maybe taking a look at that and kind of curtailing some of their spending. What does that mean for the economy? What does it mean for markets?
Well, and interest rates have gone up, which has made those credit card balances even more, difficult to knock down. Well, we are seeing some retailers say that they're seeing retail spending in stores pull back a little bit, but consumers seem to be spending on experiences, travel. And people, I think those, couple years we couldn't go anywhere. People were just like, wow, I really got to, go travel and see my family or go to Europe or whatever. And so airplanes have been packed, hotels have gone up in price, travels has been really good. But, companies like we've heard from Target and even Levi Strauss said that they're going to cut prices on jeans because people are more price conscious. So I think people are still spending. It's just a matter of what they're spending on is changing.
Yeah, and what medium they're using. Are they using cash? Are they using credit? That credit number, if it keeps going up, people, as a percentage of total people's total balances, that really scares me, Jane, because pre-pandemic or during the pandemic, people saved a ton of money. Now, I feel like we're back to where we were.
We're exactly back to where we were. I think we're record highs for credit card, like $1 trillion. So, and the average credit card interest rate is like 20% or something. I mean, it's atrocious. So yeah, people really need to watch, and we're probably going to get some more interest rate hikes this year. So those card balances will go up.
And lastly, I'll just say, with the student loan, how that issue is kind of worked out. They're restarting in September, October. Interest will be accruing on those loans. All of that I don't want to be a doom and gloomer because I don't think that's effective, but I think all of that could be some significant headwinds for spending.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, we kind of got it out of our system. We've traveled, we've spent, we've gone to restaurants, we've done the experiences. And now when you start to get those monthly bills and you're like, whoa, I can totally see consumers starting to pull back a little bit in the second half of the year. And that could be maybe send us to the recession that people have been predicting for a while.
For a while. I think it's been for years. Jane, always great to see you. So great to talk to you. Thanks for helping us break it all down. We look forward to having you back on the program again next week.
Okay, see you then.
Thanks, Jane. And when we come back, we take a look at some of our best segments for the week. You're going to want to stay tuned right here. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. This week we had some great shows. We kicked off the week with a discussion about developing a master plan for aging, for an aging population. Let's take a look.
Well, it's a critically important issue, and one that the state of New York is prioritizing and reorganizing to ensure that it is a top priority. We're dedicating resources now in New York to the aging and disabled populations that we haven't in many, many years. And I hope this will help to ensure that aging New Yorkers have greater access, not only to essential health services, but also to appropriate living settings and programs to reduce isolation, which are critically important and only growing in the state of New York. If I can give you just a sense on just some of the statistics, New York right now is home to nearly 5 million people over the age of 60. That's nearly twice as many as it was in 2010. And 1 out of every 4 New Yorkers will be considered an older adult, which is a seismic demographic shift that will change every aspect of our lives here in New York, from the structures of our families to the communities, to the drivers of our state's economy. And the next generation of older New Yorkers will be significantly more diverse, and that's what we're paying particular attention to here in the state of New York. We're going to see people living longer, and will contribute in untold new ways to making our state a more vibrant place. And as our state ages, Jeffrey, we'll also share new challenges across the decades, meaning that more people will be staying in the workforce, more of our neighbors will be living alone, and too many of us, unfortunately, will enjoy less economic security than in decades past. Everything that I mentioned before, each of those trends do present unique opportunities here in New York, but absolutely correct, Jeffrey, that they present opportunities across the country. And each one requires a significant response to ensure that our aging population gets the engagement and the value and are afforded equitable opportunities to thrive as they go through different ages and stages of life. And this is not something unique to New York. It's not unique to the Northeast. It's really incumbent upon all of us in our various states to look at aging holistically, learning some of the lessons we learned from the pandemic, developing a unified, coordinated efforts to have a response to this aging question, to everything, all those challenges and opportunities I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And I'm happy to discuss that with you. I just want to, Jeffrey, say a couple of things that are important to preface what we're doing in New York. Governor Hochul has been advancing health equity for a couple of years now that she's been governor, enabling all New Yorkers to age with dignity and independence and to reduce isolation. Interestingly, New York leads the nation in meeting the care challenges facing our aging population. We were named the first age-friendly state by AARP a few years ago, and the first age-friendly public health system by the Trust for America's Health right after the pandemic. But more action is needed to reduce isolation, to help with respect to aging New Yorkers, allowing them to age in place with dignity and independence. And these are critical elements to what we're focusing on here in New York. Again, I don't want to throw statistics out just to make the mind become numb, but New York has the fourth largest population of older adults, and it's incumbent upon us to look at this from a cost perspective, from a social and financial and population health, and we're looking at all the different services, essential health services, for appropriate living settings and programs that reduce isolation. New York is a very diverse state, upstate, downstate. We have a lot of uniqueness in the different areas, and we are trying to ensure we speak with everybody to capture the unique aging and demographics and requests from people who want to age in place for as long as possible. We're very in tune with the fact that New York requires a response that is consistent with the local communities, and it's something that we're communicating with all the providers and all the aging populations within the unique areas of the state. So we're very in tune with this, and we look forward to partnering with different areas of the state.
And next up, we discussed how retirement unpreparedness could lead to a state and federal government budget deficit of $1.3 trillion. Let's take a look.
This is a really interesting question, and it's definitely why we commissioned that report. So Pew commissioned a report from eConsult Solutions to look at the fiscal impact to state and local, or state and federal budgets when there's insufficient retirement savings. We titled that report "The Cost of Doing Nothing." And the headline for that research really is that over the course of the next 20 years, if we don't do anything, we're going to see a $13.1 trillion increase in social assistance costs at the federal and state level. And 330 billion of that is just in the state costs alone. So this is going to be a huge impact on state and federal budgets. Now, if I can break that down a little bit,
sure.
I'll note that it kind of comes in with three angles. So the first is that we're in the middle of a demographic shift right now. So we're looking between now and 2040 at the number of elderly Americans will increase by about 50% to just over 81 million. At the same time, we're seeing that the number of working age Americans is contracting. So there's fewer Americans who are working to support that elderly population. And then finally, Americans in general are just under saving. So based on what we're seeing in this report, by the time an American gets to 2040 and is retiring, they're going to be undersaving in such a way that they will have a $7,000 gap between where they need to be and where they are. So, this in itself is such a huge issue, and it will be an issue both for taxpayers and for the individuals affected. What we've seen across the country is that states, as the laboratories of democracy, have been looking at ways that they can fill this gap that's left unfilled from the private sector. So the estimate is about 56 million Americans in the private sector do not have access to retirement savings at their place of employment. And we know that individuals are 15 times more likely to save for retirement if they can do so at work. So 15 states now, we've seen legislation pass to create programs that we call them automated savings programs. They also are called auto IRAs or secure choice or work and save. But just the crux of it is that if you're a private sector employer who does not offer any kind of retirement benefit to your employees, you would facilitate the state program and create a payroll deduction IRA for those employees. This is a public-private partnership between the state government and a private program administrator, but it just basically allows us to fill this access gap and make sure that everyone has a floor, like a basic way to save for retirement at their place of employment. And so, when we look at this, I think the good news is, from our report about the cost of doing nothing, the estimate was that if individuals would save $140 per month for the next 30 years, they would be able to fill that $7,000 gap and not need to be on social assistance in their old age. But what we're seeing with state programs is that on average, people are saving right now between $130 and $170 a month. So if we can get one of these programs in every state across the country, we may be able to just mitigate or completely eliminate that $330 billion that we were going to see in social assistance costs going up over to 2040. That's a really good question. And what we're seeing is that the retirement system at large is doing what it's always done, which is to serve a certain segment of society and perhaps underserve others. So these state programs are really there to make sure that there's a basic floor, that everyone has access to saving, and that we're looking towards a system where employers can maybe start from a state program and then work their way up, get a 401k, get a 403b, and have a more robust benefit in the future, but knowing that that's not going to happen overnight.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN Weekly. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news with lifestyle, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, visit our website, and of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN Sunday. I'll be joined by members of the media, academia, financial services, and government as we break down all the news and events for the week. You're not going to want to miss it. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.